Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. Thank you so much for joining us as we take a look at the MIEE application. We're really lucky today to be joined by Malcolm Wilson. Hi Malcolm, how you doing?
Hello, good to see everybody.
It's good to have you here. How's your day been?
It's been fantastic, an excellent day, lovely sunny weather, even though it's not actually that warm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sitting here with jumpers on and yeah, it's cold up here in Aberdeen today. So we're going to be having a look today at the MIEE application. So we're going to be running through a very quick sway that has every piece of information you're ever going to need. We're then going to have a look at the actual MIEE application page, and we're going to end on a quite a cool wee resource that Malcolm's been working on. He passed on a few wee details to us, and it's Tony and the team who's built it and kind of added everyone into our resource. So stay around at the end for that. So let's jump into our sway. It's just going to take me 2 wee seconds just as I adjust my screens. I'm all over the place here. So I'm just going to go to present and share my screen. And it is this one here. Okay, so everybody should now be able to see this screen that I'm on. So this is our MIEE self-nomination sway that's available for anybody who needs a wee bit of a hand. We're going to work our way through this today. It's got some great hints and tips for you as you're going through your application. And it's also very Team MIEE Scotland centric, which is quite nice to see. So we'll have a wee look at this just now. So the first thing to kind of notice is that nominations are now open. So today, the 9th of May, your nominations are open. We've also got this down in the bottom left-hand corner of today's session. It's like the overlay we've got for the video today. So if you do forget, then the nominations are available from the 9th of May until the 26th of June. So you need to get your nomination in for then. Now, there is a couple of different kind of achievements that you have to have prior to this. So Malcolm, what do you reckon? A week before maybe the 26th of June is maybe a good time in?
You probably want to get started. And some of you, of course, importantly, you might already have done some of these courses. So they're courses that have been available on Microsoft Learn. And therefore, there are certain courses that you have to have completed before you can then self-nominate for the Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert. But once you've done these courses, then it's just a case of then filling in the gaps, if you like, filling in the online form.
Absolutely, totally agree. What's your experience of being an MIEE? Like, have you been an MIEE for long? How do you find the application? How do you find the group?
Yes, I certainly have. I've been for quite a long time now, quite a number of years. And it's really being part of a community. And although obviously to get the achievement, to get recognised as an MIE expert is quite a kudos in itself. There's over 1,000 in the UK, which doesn't sound like there's a huge number when you think of the total number of teachers and educators in all the different walks of life in education. But it's a small community really, and in Scotland, an even smaller community still, but such a community of support so that if you're trying to do something, then when you're sharing something, someone else will take that idea, they'll recognise what you've done, they will then adapt that for their needs and then feedback saying they've got the idea from you. So there's that. And then if there's something that you're working away at and you're not very sure how to do something, it could be something very simple that you're struggling with and someone else knows it and says, oh, I've done this before, here you are. And it's that kind of community of people who are just wanting to support other people. And that's what Absolutely. It's about. It's that community of learners that are wanting to help others to do the best for their learners in front of them, whatever the age of the learner.
Absolutely. And like you said, Malcolm, a lot of people are they've got ideas and they're wanting to do something. And for example, Miss Aird on Twitter does loads of sharing of lots of the different resources that they've made. So if you do find yourself on education Twitter, it's worth having a look at #TeamMIEE Scotland And from there, you're going to find loads of different educators and people who are very like-minded and who are all MIEEs who are sharing resources, happy to help, and who are kind of making that difference in the digital education world. So definitely worth having a look at. Down at the bottom there, hashtag Team MIEE Scotland. That links us in really nicely down here. As I scroll down to, we'll come back to that video in a wee second, this little kind of deck of cards in here. So the definition of an MIE expert is somebody who is passionate about education, who has a true collaborative spirit, and who strives to inspire their students. And down at the bottom, we are reimagining education and shaping a better world. I'm just going to skip forward a couple in here because, where are we? There's quite a lot of cards in here. We will go back through them. Just as you mentioned, there's loads of people online who are more than happy to share and help others. So we've got in here, this is a nice little kind of Scottish slide in here. So we've got Shelley, we've got Tracy, we've got Heather there, and Rosalind as well. So these are all educators who are working across Scotland to really make that difference, to support you as an educator, but also to support your students. In particular, Miss Aird has put together some fantastic resources that have been shared throughout kind of the Microsoft sphere, I guess. And these are how to use different tools like OneNote, how to access accessibility settings, these kind of things. So it's definitely worth having a look at some of these MIEEs here. I'm going to scroll back up and we're going to just very quickly have a look at this video here. It gives us a nice idea of what being an MIEE really is.
Allow me to introduce you to a few of my friends.
Hi everyone.
Namaskar from India.
Konnichiwa from Kokkola, Finland.
Welcome to Kaysville, Utah.
Hello everybody.
From Sabah, Malaysia.
As educators and school leaders, you're problem solvers, change makers, forces of nature. Alone, you're incredible, but together, you're unstoppable.
I've got so many friends across the world that are all MIEs.
I have made many friends online and face to face.
It has been inspiring to meet MIEs from around the world and learn about how my own subject is taught elsewhere.
The Microsoft Innovative Educator Program is a community of 30,000 educators who are growing, learning, and succeeding together.
When you become a MIE, you can connect with a lot of teachers. As the connection increases, your world expands and you can grow.
It provides you with a lot of resources, it provides you with lots of ideas.
MIE expert programs, there are plenty of resources to help me grow as an educator.
It is so helpful to be able to have other problem solvers.
And together we are leading and innovating for the future.
The process to become an NIE expert is fun and exciting.
You don't have to invent something new. You just have to be open to learn, create, and grow with them.
I would like to invite all educators to join MIE community and give your students the best experience of learning.
This is going to be an experience that is going to be worth it, not only for you, but also for them.
Because teachers don't see limits. We only see possibilities. Start your journey. Become a Microsoft Innovative Educator expert today.
It just highlights, Niall, it just highlights for everybody that's watching this, it just highlights that you find your niche of people. The people that you work with can be next door in the same school, in another classroom, or down the road, or another country, anywhere in the world. And you'll find your niche of people that you just work with and you're chiming with and everything, and you're picking up ideas from, they're bouncing ideas with you. And that's part of being this community. It's not, the word expert, I think, sometimes puts people off. And the idea that you have to be an expert and have to know everything. And that's not at all what being an expert in the MIE expert community means. It's about being willing to find out, to learn, to grow, to find out from others, to share your ideas. And it's really an exciting community to be part of. And I've certainly enjoyed being part of that community for many years.
Absolutely. I think that's a really powerful point that you made there, that you could be working alongside somebody next door, or like we are today, we're maybe 150 miles apart, and yet we're still working together, having those conversations and making that difference for the educators and the students around us. So yeah, I think that's a really powerful point. And I think it's a goal maybe for Team MIEE Scotland this year to get into a video like this. I think that might be a nice way of kind of promoting the work that everybody here is doing, but also to kind of share with everybody in the world. That's the thing. Like I know I do think kind of Scotland as a whole, but I really guess I should be thinking more globally and starting to learn a wee bit more from others. And I think that's maybe my goal, my personal goal for this year, being a part of the MIEE community. I try to join as many of the Scottish meetups that we have, but maybe try to join a wee bit more from what's out there in the world.
Which is maybe a good point. Sorry, Niall, just before you moved on to the next point, it's just to highlight that as part of being the MIEE expert community in Scotland, then there are regular meetups, whether it's online. There's a whole team, a Microsoft Teams space that's just dedicated to the Scottish users. And then there's another one for the UK, and there's regular monthly catch-ups online for the UK. And from that, there's highlights usually for different parts of the country. So Scotland gets their moment where several will share from around Scotland about ideas, and then other parts of the country will do the same. And as they're sharing their ideas, then we're picking up, and it's the excitement. It's being part of the excitement of things that we're doing and amplifying what you're doing to others, and then realizing, I suppose, that actually not everyone's doing amazing things, and it's making other people see that there are opportunities and things that can be done. And if someone sees something and thinks to themselves, well, that's a really good idea, I've then got somebody I can get in touch with because they've just shared, and everyone's open and welcoming to being asked. So
absolutely. I totally agree with that. What do you have any top tips for if you have somebody in maybe a school, and maybe it's your stage partner, maybe it's just another teacher in your school that has these ideas that maybe you've spotted that they're doing some incredible work, and maybe other people should be able to see the stuff that they're doing. Is there any tips for them to kind of share their work and get that out there?
Yes, I mean, if they're part of the MIEE expert community, then there's the opportunity to share within the community and beyond. And you mentioned earlier about having videos, but you know there's a blog, for instance. There's open spaces. There's a Microsoft blog specifically for the UK, and as often they are looking for people to share their stories, things about things that are happening, and that could be a very small single project-based activity that you've maybe taken, or something that's happening in a particular lesson for a single moment. But if you felt it's had impact, then you want to shout about that impact and hear some voices from the pupils and say what impact it's had on them. So it's about sharing what you're doing and being willing to let others hear and see about that. And that can be telling the story of how you came about to make that thing, the impact it's had, and then what that's led on to. It doesn't need to be a worldwide share, but as often as not, if you do start sharing things, then people want to pass it on and then to pass it on. And it's the fact it comes back and saying, well, you're doing something, and why shouldn't you get the credit and get the recognition for doing these amazing things that you're doing?
Totally agree. I absolutely agree. That's fantastic points in there. Yeah, particularly about sharing. So talking about sharing, let's have a wee look at the education change maker. So this is we skipped through this earlier, but let's have a wee look and see kind of what being an MIEE actually means to everybody. So here we've got some of the MIEE experts that have taken part in a meetup. I can see there's Sarah in there. We've got Simon. We've got Luis and Jen. Is there anybody else there that I'm missing?
They're too small for me to see on the screen, but there really are an immense number of people, and you know it's just a snapshot, just to give faces to names sometimes, because many of you may well have already seen some of these names, and you may have seen none of them. And what's surprising, I suppose, about being part of the community is that you start off feeling like you're just a small cog, and then you discover that actually you're part of a cog that makes it all work. It's not just something unimportant. Every cog on that bike is important. If one of them breaks, something else goes awry. So this is part of being a big community, and everybody's important. So we're picking out names that you might recognize, or I might recognize, or Niall might recognize. But in actual fact, it doesn't matter about recognizing these names. It's about finding the people that you can connect with, whether it's with your subject, your stage that you teach at, or whether it's things, the particular activities you think, I could adapt that. Even someone in further education, for instance, might be doing something that the nursery think, oh, I could see a use for that in the nursery. And likewise, primary, secondary, special education, whichever aspect you can see to make it work for you, you've then got a go-to person for that thing. And that might be someone who's always sharing and is always online, or it might be someone who's maybe not that far away from you, but just doesn't generally shout out about it too often. And you can then be that contact and amplify what they do to then be part in your classroom as well.
Absolutely. I love that. That's absolutely key points there. And we are, as MIEEs, that group of forward thinkers and change makers, and taking those ideas, like you said, and sharing them across the school. Doesn't just have to be for your class, could be for the ELC or the nursery that you've got there. And yeah, you can make that difference for your students and for your educators as well. So I was having a look at this wee map here, and we're very Central Belt centric there. So I'm wondering if maybe we can kind of promote a wee bit further north. I can see there's two. Is that maybe Murray? Or is that just kind of on the cusp of Aberdeenshire sitting in there? So these are all of the MIEEs that are around the UK, and in here we've got around Scotland. So it's definitely worth kind of having a chat, see if there's any MIEs nearby to you. We will have a look at later how you can discover kind of where these people are and start to learn from them. I think it's really quite interesting, the key kind of facts and figures on the right hand side. So a large and diverse community of more than 1,000 educators in the UK. They're from all levels, so there's 20% from primary, 45% are from secondary, 20% FE, and 5% HE for the higher education, and then other is 10%. I'm including in that other nowadays. So we've also then got a wide variety of roles: class teachers, middle leaders, senior leadership team, learning technologists, and across many subjects as well. So this is more kind of the secondary level. We've got English, maths, science, computing, PE. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, my subject or my year group doesn't really work with me being a part of the MIEE community, it absolutely does. From 20% primary and PE, there's PE teachers in there, and that's one of the kind of subjects that people say, oh, I don't tend to use the technology as much. Clearly, there are some fantastic MIEE experts that are out there that are using these technologies. So if you are interested in finding out more about how you can use Microsoft tools to support your students, then it's definitely worth joining, no matter what class or subject you teach.
If I could just amplify that as well, that for many, being part of the community, you sometimes get to know somebody before you know, in fact, what they teach. So it might be that they're teaching teachers in further education or higher education. It might be that they're a nursery, working in a nursery. It might be whatever they're working in. And sometimes you're hearing their ideas and not hearing about what they're actually teaching, because that's, in fact, not the important part. So it's important to see people, as we always say as educators, don't we? We see who's in front of us and we work with what we have in front of us. But ideas can sometimes translate without any difficulty. So whatever you happen to be doing, connecting with someone that you just feel you can connect with is far more important than thinking about, well, actually, I can't do that because they are not the same stage, the same sort of area. You will find so many ideas from across the board.
Yep, absolutely. I totally agree. And there we have, as you mentioned, kind of across the boards, we've got all of our regional teams in there. So we've got our Team Scotland, the badges up at the top of the video today. So it's worth kind of keeping an eye out for that badge. So I'm just going to make our way through these. We've got some. This was the Team Scotland meetup. I wasn't there. I missed it. I had a wedding. Did you make it, Malcolm?
I did, and they're good meetups because it's nice being online and being able to be face to face, but online when you are quite a distance to travel. And for many of us, it's too far to travel to some of the kinds of meetups that you might be able to do. However, being able to be face to face also just has that advantage of having conversations that you might not get. But it's just hearing and sharing ideas and just being part of that joy of a community that everyone is just thinking the same way and wanting to make things successful for our pupils, whether the pupils are really young or quite old, like me.
Not at all. And yeah, as you were saying there, with the kind of regional meetups, it's great to actually be able to kind of get that opportunity to chat with people face to face. And we do have sessions coming up over the next kind of month or so, where we'll be heading out to Sarah, who's in the front of this picture here. We'll be heading out to Sarah's school and we'll be learning about what they're doing there, and it's all going to be in that kind of face-to-face environment. So we've got loads of meetups that take place throughout the year, and you can see we've got a few people in here. Like I think I can see Amanda popping her head up in a few of these pictures here. So Bet was incredible this year, a great chance for us to meet new people. And we've also got a wee bit of swag as well. So when you become an MIEE, you do get the opportunity to pick up on some swag. I've got here loads and loads of badges, Microsoft, I don't know if it's picking them up, Microsoft Educator badges. So if you are interested in needing a couple of badges for your school, let me know. I've got tons here, and I am always taking my MIEE mug everywhere that I go, because I do a lot of traveling all across Scotland, so the MIEE mug has been absolutely fantastic for me. I've loved having it. We've got our MIEE UK awards as well, so this is a chance for us to recognise those kind of outstanding MIEEs. And as we mentioned here, we're on social media. There is that kind of shout out. Is it every month or so that they give some MIEEs a wee shout out? So what do we need to do? We will be kind of jumping into that in just a wee second, but some things that you need to know. So you need to get yourself onto Learn. We will show you that in just a wee second. Then take part in the Microsoft Educator Academy. So we're going 1, 2. Next, you need to get your Advanced Educator badge. Okay, so this is all taking place on Learn. And then from there, we need to self-nominate. Okay, and again, it needs to be done by the 9th of May, between the 9th of May to the 26th of June.
And as Niall says, you don't have to wait until the 9th, or you don't have to have done all of these things by the beginning of that period of time. You simply have to have done it before you hit the nomination button. So you've got to have completed these online courses, and you may well find you've already done them. So it's worth having a look to see. They're all online, they're all free, and they have the how-to guides to begin with. It takes you through step by step for each of these things, and then at the end of each, there's a short test online, which is all free, and you can retake it as well. So if you don't pass it the first time, you can retake it as many times as it takes until you pass each of the elements that you need to do before you can then hit the self-nomination part.
And I think that's a good point about kind of sitting the test, because I was going into it feeling cocky as it was, and I still came away learning stuff. So even though I'm talking about accessibility a lot of the time, a lot of the talks that I'm doing and going into schools, I'm looking at accessibility. I looked up the accessibility part on it was the educator training, and I've still come away learning lots. So it's important to sit these trainings, and you will come away learning some fantastic new pieces of knowledge that then you can go on and you can share with your team. We're just going to come down to the very bottom just now. So we do have just a wee bit of kind of background, a wee bit more information. So if you are doing the Microsoft Educator training, so this is for if an educator or school leader is new to Microsoft tools in teaching and learning, then they've created a learning path to help you get started. Now, everybody has to take this to be able to become an MIEE, so down at the bottom there. So we do have to sit Microsoft Educator, Microsoft Advanced Educator. You don't have to sit Trainer, but then when you get both of these, you self-nominate and you'll become an MIEE there. So within that, you've got, it's about 5.5 hours worth of training. So as Malcolm said, you don't have to wait until the 9th, so until today, to start. You could have already previously started these, build up your points on Learn, and then all you need to do is share the URL for your Learn. That's like a transcript. From there, you'll get 6,000.
Just before you rushed on to the next part, just to highlight that even if you have not yet done these courses, you might well find, just like Niall said, where you may already quite experienced in using some of the tools or experienced with the ideas behind some of the training courses. So you might find yourself that although it says a number of hours, you might find yourself that I've done that part, I know that part. So you can go part of the parts you don't know and spend more time watching the videos, the training materials. And often as well, as part of a training course, they'll have lots of examples of how people are using and putting into practice the different things. So they're always interesting to watch, because as often as not, you can pick up tips about, well, I hadn't think of using a particular tool in that particular way. So you can see things and learn things about how people are using them, not just how to use them.
Absolutely. I think that's a really key point there. As we go into advanced educator, so this is kind of working on to the next step from the Educator Academy, we've got lots of different kind of areas that you'll be sitting. So you'll be looking at the mastery of Microsoft Teams and 21st century learning design. You might see that written as 21 CLD everywhere, so kind of keep an eye out for that. So as we go through, I think I skipped through that bit. Let's go back. I'll tell you how long it takes to set the teams. There we go. So the mastery of Microsoft Teams is down as 7.5 hours. But if you have a background in Teams already, that will stand you in good stead. So it shouldn't take you the full 7.5 hours. If you're totally starting from the beginning, it might take you that little bit longer, but that's absolutely fine. This is all self-paced and you can work at your own pace. Once you've done that, you can lead on then to 21 CLD, and that's just shy of 7 hours as well. So we've got 5.5, 7.5, and 7 hours. So there's a lot of kind of pre-training to do in there. But if you are already using the tools, then you'll already have that background, and you're gonna pick up on new skills and new kind of techniques and new tips and definitely new ways of thinking. But you've already got that background in there, so it's not going to take you that full amount of time. I think that's a kind of a key point to make in there. So then once you have sat both of these trainings, you can then start to apply to become an MIEE. So from there, we've got just a wee video on that. We'll skip that just now. From there, we're going to have a wee look now at how to apply to... missed it. Hold on, I got to go all the way through again. This is what I get for being too quick. Let's keep going. Okay, how to become an MIEE. So just go into Bing and type in Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert, and from there you can find it, no problem. Okay, about the program. So we've got a little bit of blurb, what it means to be an MIEE, and then on the right-hand side, we have how do you join the program. So first of all, you need to create a Learn profile. So you'll know that you have created your Learn profile if up in the top right-hand corner, so this is one of the many profiles that I use, so this is just the work one, you are logged in already. If you're not logged in, so if I'm just going to go sign out just to show you, you can hit sign in, and from there, it's going to ask you to sign in with your Microsoft account. I'm going to close that down before you see all my other email addresses. Okay, and then from there, although hold on, I might just have to do it anyway. I'll blur it out in the video, don't worry. So I'm just going to hit sign in. I'm going to click this account here. And then once you've signed in for the very first time, it'll ask you for a couple more details, and then you're good to go. So that's us created our Learn profile. So now we can go down to, so we need to complete Microsoft Educator Academy, Master Microsoft Teams for any learning environment, and 21 CLD. To find these, all you do is up in the top right-hand corner, you type in what you're looking for. So I'm just going to copy Microsoft Educator Academy, Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste, hit enter, and it's going to take me directly to that training. Now, there are other linked trainings, so there's many kind of similar trainings that are out there. It's just the first one there that we're going to head through. And from there, you can find out exactly what you're going to be learning about, the best strategies for hybrid learning, accessibility, empowering your students, flipped instructions. But to get started, all you need to then do is hit start. And sorry, I've got another phone call. I've had 4 phone calls during this call today. This never happens.
While you're clicking on that button, just while that's on there, Niall, it tells you as you're going through all of this, it gives you a little outline of exactly what you're going to be covering in general form. And then below, it tells you step by step. So if you've already done something and then get interrupted, just like Niall did with a phone call, or something else happens, then you can simply leave it and come back to it, and it'll still be there. And you go into the spot where you haven't completed, and there'll be a progress chart. Because you're signed in at this point, there'll be a progress chart saying, here's the bits you've already done. So you just go to the bit that you haven't already done. So you can pick this exactly as you're doing it, bit by bit, pick it out, step by step, so you don't have to do it all in one go. So don't worry about that length of time thing. And there will definitely be elements, because if you've got this far, you're bound to already be using these tools. So for many of you looking at this just now, you'll already have done lots of this, and you'll be able to skip through quite quickly some of the aspects of it, so that there might be a very small amount of time that you actually have to look at the bits that you're not familiar with.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point there. Yeah, because I would be very hard pushed to find anybody that had 7.5 hours free of an evening to sit and take part in absolutely everything for one of the courses. So yeah, I think that's a great point from Malcolm there, that you can do this in your own time. A key part of what we're doing is that kind of the different types of learning. So you've got your hybrid, taking part in different places, but you've also got your kind of self-study as well in there. So it's really important to know that you don't have to do these all in one go. You can break it up. So yes, once you have completed all of this, you'll see that your XP up in the top right-hand corner starts to increase. From there, I'm just going to go back just now. So once you have completed all 3 of these courses in here, so if I just zoom in for you just now so you can read it a wee bit more easily. So Microsoft Educator Academy, Master Microsoft Teams, and 21 CLD. Now we can start to prepare for our nomination. Now it does ask us for the URL for our Learn profile. So what I'm going to do here to show you how to do this is I'm going to head up on the top right-hand corner to my profile. I'm then going to hit Profile. And as I scroll down, I'm going to go to achievements. So you'll see I was doing a couple today, or the other day, just to kind of top up my knowledge a wee bit on those. So I'm going to head down to achievements on the left-hand side. And from there, I can now copy this URL from up at the top here. So there's the Learn, this URL here. Come on, click off. There we go. And I can now paste that into my application. Okay, so this is my own personal achievements URL up at the top, Niall Ridgway -1417 achievements. All I need to do is copy and paste that into my application. So where do we find information on the application? I'm just going to zoom out again a wee bit. Now, down here, we've got Prepare Yourself. So when I click on Prepare Yourself, what that's going to do is it's going to open up a new Word document for me. And from within here, you can start to work out what your answers are going to be for your self-nomination. Now, Malcolm had the great tip he was telling me earlier. In fact, do you want to mention it, Malcolm, about copying and pasting?
So when you come to actually do your nomination, it's not the Word document that you'll be using. The Word document is there to gather the information and to keep saving that as you're going along, because it will take a bit of time to do this. You've got all these courses to do online. As Niall has just copied his link to his achievements, then you would also then copy and paste it into this Word document here, just as a storing it as you're going along. There's clearly information that's just the simplest of information about, well, who are you? And that doesn't change whether or not you get awarded the MIEE expert recognition. But as you go down, there are aspects of this, and you will need to spend some time thinking about it. And the recommendation in the document, and it tells you this several times, is not to try and do it all yourself, but to actually have a conversation with someone else who's perhaps already done this, or with a colleague, and you think, well, what does he think it means by this? What things have I done? Because sometimes in these conversations often you'll find these conversations, there's things that you're doing on a daily basis and you simply forget because you're doing it so often. And then someone will say, well, I'm not doing that. And then you think, oh, that's something I'm doing. And then you can write about that. And what they're looking for here is not only to demonstrate through these courses that you completed that you've built up some level of expertise in the use of Microsoft products that you'll be using with your pupils, your learners at different ages, but also that you have made an impact on your pupils. So you're being asked to create something or look at something you've already created and then explain about that resource, to share that resource, to explain about the resource, and then to share something that your learners have created. One example that your learners have created as a result of what you've taught using these particular tools. So it does take a bit of time, and it tells you the number of words. So as often as not, it's the minimum of 500 characters, but a maximum of 2,000. So it tells you all of that. Some of the aspects of this form, now this is all done as a Word document here so that you're preparing it in your Word document. When you come to fill it in, you'll use your Word document as your master, and then you'll copy and paste the elements from it onto the online form so that you're not trying to do it from the online form as you go along, do it in the Word document first, save it, feel comfortable that you've got all the bits and pieces all in the right place, and then you copy into the form. But it will take you quite a bit of time to do this. So have a look at that first so that you know what it is that you're looking for, and then take a bit of time in the next few weeks before that application deadline closes to then be ready to paste into the relevant parts of the online application form. The bits that you will be thinking about will be creating that learning object, and that object, they use the term learning object if you like, but because it could be anything. It could be a thing that you've used with a group, it could be a thing that you've used with a class, it could be a resource, it could start off as a talking point, it could be an activity, it could be a sway, it could be a PowerPoint, it could be a Word document, it could be anything really, and that's the point of calling it something quite generic. But it's a thing that you've created that you've then used in a teaching situation, and then to share something that a learner has then created as a result of what you've done. And then you're then sharing in terms of the 21st century learning, it's what aspect of that is it that you've tried to cover, and describing that and tying it back to what you've just been learning about on these online courses. So it's quite thorough, but it's worthwhile because obviously in order to achieve being an MIE expert, you have to have demonstrated that you have got this commitment to learning with the digital products. So I hope that's a help, Niall.
That is a massive help. I think you've covered all of that, which is great. So this document has everything that you need. Malcolm has just given you a great kind of starter point for there. Gives you an idea of what you're going to need to be putting in for these long answer questions, for your machine learning questions, which are up here. So just how often do you use Teams, that kind of thing. And then just a wee bit about you, as well as a scroll back up to the top. So maybe you've got your Twitter handle. How many followers do you have? Are you active on social media? What subjects do you teach? That kind of thing. So this is your kind of jumping off point for
Can I just,
your
sorry, interrupt again, Niall, just because you were talking about the machine learning, and there's aspects of it when it comes to the online form. So remember, you're copying and pasting from your Word document. This Word document is here as your build up as you go along, so that when you come to paste in, so there's elements of what you paste in that will be machine answered. That if you haven't answered that you have completed all the courses that you need to complete, then you won't get put forward into the next part. When it comes to the part where you're describing your activity or uploading your resource, then it's going to be a human being that's going to look at that. It's going to be someone from within MIE program that's going to look at the resources and evaluate whether you have demonstrated that you are worthy of getting the MIE expert recognition. So there's aspects of it that will be automatic and you must answer particularly. And there's also another part there, Niall, that you didn't touch on, but it's in there as well, is that there's questions specifically about certain products like OneNote, for instance, or like Microsoft Teams. And there are certain questions that you've then got to answer. And it's just a case of going through these, making sure you're familiar with it, which is why it's important to use the Word document so that you do become familiar with it and you're not then struggling when you're seeing it online for the first time. Do it in the Word document, become familiar, know the answers, and at that point you can then copy and paste them across when you come to the nomination online form.
Absolutely, yep. I think that's every piece of information they could possibly need. Thank you for that. That was great. So, as you mentioned, we've got the kind of the core tools that they're using, so they need to fill that in. And once you have filled in all of your Word document, ready to go, ready to copy and paste in, you can now head to nominate yourself. So when I go to nominate myself, first of all, you're going to want to make sure that you're registered or signed in. And from there, you get a little bit more information about what you're signing up for. So if you are going for the Showcase Schools or Incubator program, that's something else. Don't worry about it. You'll be down here. Everybody else for MIEE, it's in this part here. It's the first row in this table that they've created. So once you're done here, once you've prepared everything, this is where you can start to nominate yourself, and you can head to register now or sign in to do so. It mentions down here as well that if you'd like to see the current list of MIEEs, then you can click on this link here, and that takes you to this link in here. So it's got everybody from across the world in here who is an MIEE. And all you need to do is, the quickest way that I found to do it was to do a Control F to find, or you can head down to United Kingdom, and we're all in here. So there's all the information for United Kingdom. MIEEs are in here. We have also, though, been working. So Malcolm's been working on pulling together a kind of Scottish version of this. It's not yet finished, so you're getting first eyes on this. Tony's been working in the background to get this all ready and all done. But you can see there's Malcolm there, and it just gives you a wee bit of information about kind of where they are and kind of where they're working and who they're working with. We will eventually get photos in here. There will be links to Twitter. I don't think they were working before. Well, we'll try it. Let's see. It was struggling a wee bit. It's want me to log in. That's fine. So we will have all this information here. So we'll have just like a group of kind of those Scottish MIEEs where you can very quickly find out information about who's nearby you, who to ask questions of, and who are kind of those people that would be worthwhile having those conversations with. So as I said, we've got them there. Is there anything else that I'm missing, Malcolm?
Yeah, so I just point out on this that you may have photographs uploaded. So if this is all publicly available information.
Yep.
So if you don't want your photograph, then it doesn't need to go there. It can just remain as it is there. So if your Twitter account is public, then it'll be a link to it there. If you've applied to be an MA expert, then you'll already be appearing on that global list. And therefore that information is what's appearing here. But it's a Scottish-wide, we've simply extracted to here the Scottish-wide aspects so that anyone in Scotland can then find someone that's near to them or someone they think, oh, I know that person. Maybe they live near to where you live, or perhaps you've met them in the past, but you can then that's your point of contact in getting in touch. So the Twitter accounts, how to get in touch with them through Twitter or elsewhere. So it's really exciting to see this starting to develop. And of course, there'll be a new list will appear in August of this year once the nominations are completed and the process is undergone. Then the new list will then be announced and this list will change. And part of this site that we're looking at right now, which is just brand new, as Niall says, you'll see at the bottom of each name, at the foot there, it says which session. So you may already be an MA expert and tells you which session that was, but then there might be new people and there might be other folk who are no longer going to be for next year. They may not apply for this year, in which case you'll still get that recognition for having been an MA expert. So it's quite important to recognise when you have, and then other times when you're not necessarily in a role that is relevant any longer, or you've taken a break to do something else, and therefore this allows you to still get that recognition and still be able to be sharing your expertise and experience of being an MA expert and part of that community.
Absolutely. I think that's really key information. As you said, all of this is currently public information, and if you don't want your photo, don't worry, we won't put it in. Okay, so I'm gonna just stop sharing my screen there. So it's just us. Is there anything that I've forgotten to mention or that we've forgotten to bring up during the session?
I think we've covered it all really. So I mean,
surely we're a wee bit longer than we thought we'd be as well.
Niall, of all our excitement and enthusiasm of what we've just experienced and different ways of experiencing being part of that community. Hopefully everyone that's been watching this, it feels like, oh, I want to be part of that too. At least I hope you feel that way. And you don't need to be somebody that knows everybody. That's not at all how it happens. When I started teaching, I remember thinking to myself, this is before the internet. I know I'm that old. This is before the internet, when you didn't really know what other people, even in the same school, were doing, unless you took that opportunity to go and talk to someone else. With the MIE expert community, and particularly within Scotland, where we are looking at this specifically as a focus, then there is a community, and we may be geographically dispersed, but there's still that connection, and we can make these chats in different ways, and whether it's face-to-face in person, or whether it's face-to-face online like this, or whether it's just through Twitter, or whether it's through emails, whatever the way that you connect, there really is such a value in being part of a community where you're supporting each other, you're sharing about the exciting things that are happening, and you're being part of something that matters, because at the end of it, you'll feel more inspired to go and do something else with what you're already doing with your learners in front of you. And then you'll share that with somebody else and they'll feel inspired to then go and do something else. So it really makes such an impact on your own learners, but far, far beyond that. As many have found as being MIE experts, you can be talking to your own local authority, you can be talking to another school down the road, you can be talking worldwide suddenly online, just like this. There are so many opportunities. But if you're not that person that wants to talk, you can simply be the person that shares ideas in different ways, whether it's a blog post, whether it's a piece of information that you share that someone else hosts elsewhere, like, for instance, on this new site that we've just created in TA Scotland.
Absolutely. And yeah, just to kind of reiterate the point that you're going in there about building that community, I've whacked down at the bottom there #team MIEE Scotland, so that everybody can have a wee look on Twitter for us and kind of see the impact that everybody is making. Okay, so just before we go, I'm just going to share up. We've got a very quick survey for today. So if you have enjoyed today's session, please do let us know. You can type in, I'll put it in the description for this video as well. So it's just bit.ly/TAS-MIEE-2023. Yeah, just let us know how we've gotten on today. If you've got any questions, pop them into the comments. Let us know if you've got any questions, or share them out on Twitter as well. We're more than happy to ask you. My DMs are always open, so if you want to ask it privately, that's fine, you can do, or publicly, just tag me in your tweet. Is there anything else we need to say, Malcolm, before we go?
No, I hope we've really inspired people to have a go at this and to sign up and to be part of that community. It's such a pleasure to be part of it, but it's been such a benefit, and knowing that there are people out there that share the same vision of things that you would like to see happening with digital.
Yep, absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us today. I really do appreciate you taking the time out to join us for today's session. Keep an eye out for any other TA sessions that are coming up. We've got a couple of webinars that are coming up over the next couple of weeks, including Microbit and some others that are to be announced. So keep an eye out for those. Thank you very much again for joining us today. I'm Niall. You've been joined by Malcolm as well. I'm just going to play the wee outro video, and then we'll see you again soon. So where am I? Brand? I should have been ready for this. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.